Before I start this, would really like to point out the fact that I didn't miss the vacuum within Hotfix 3. It was basically nothing more than a, let's call it a quality of life. It was a lot of fixes, and that was pretty much it. There was this thing about a change to Helios. They brought back was it Fatal Attract? Has the ability to have corrosive damage, but only when mixed with a certain thing. It didn't bring back the ability that brought back the icon. For some reason, the icon had disappeared, and the icon is now back, as well as reduced memory usage is a quality of life. The Nyx absorb thing, it's just all quality of life, and it's basically this is just a giant hotfix. Apart from the only real thing, apart from adding back that little icon in the corner, was something to do with an enemy that's inside of the... Hang on. I do have the notes up. Disruptor drone in the codex. So I would assume it's an enemy, and the disruptor drone has been added into the... Anybody see it? Because there's all the drones. I don't have them all scanned, I am aware of this. So I don't know what the hell the disruptor drone is, but it's more than likely one of those that I don't have scanned, because it's a fair few I don't have. It could be one of these drones down here. If it's from the trials, never been in there. But on that, with Dejing finally having back his little icon in the corner, which I don't understand why that wasn't a thing beforehand, if I'm honest, considering the whole point of Dejing and Fatal Attract having the corrosive added to it when using the Gazal machete thing, the sword here, because kills with that sword adds it to Dejing. And then Fatal Attract will deal that damage to enemies who come near him. That still worked. I didn't know there was an icon, and it's now back. So, yeah. Straight up weird. Hang on. Yeah, okay. I just had to remember which one of those stupid things I took. Sorry, I'm getting myself distracted there. But the biggie that is going around I've seen at the minute comes from Wyrm. And I've been asked this a few times. What do I think of the Wyrm Prime nerf? And what? There is no nerf. This has come across because Wyrm Prime health is... And the people are literally specifying the health has been halved on Wyrm Prime, and that's what the nerf is. Not sure if his ability's been nerfed, because to be honest... Not many people used him beforehand, so they could have made his ability the best in the world. It still wouldn't have drawn the people to him. And now that people are going back to other Sentinels, with Vacuum now being a mod you can use on all Sentinels, that is a possibility. Just talking about his health here. Just so I don't confuse people, or people don't go to the comments and say, oh yeah, well this was nerfed and that was nerfed. People are just talking about the health, and I keep getting asked, what do I think of it? Well, unfortunately, I don't use Wyrm. Wyrm was my first Sentinel. I did like him a lot. I used him all the time. I eventually built Shade, but his ability to turn you invisible was pretty much meaningless because his shields were so low, he would die much easier than Wyrm would. Then, if I remember rightly, Death Cube came around, and when Death Cube came around, that was it. Stuck with Death Cube until Carrier turned up. As for Dejing, Helios, even the newest of them, remembering there is still a new one coming that's going to be a starting Sentinel, which is meant to help new players. Don't quite know where that one is, but it's... What is it they say? It's around the corner. And so we'll include that one for the heck of it. No, you're still stuck with Carrier because that's how it worked. And then they took Vacuum off, and I have been tempted on starting back at the beginning and going back to Wyrm. Personally, I've been kind of stuck to Dejing, and you'll notice that Wyrm, Dejing, and Death Cube... Does Carrier? No, Carrier has... No, Carrier's the same. all have exactly the same stats. Every single one of them. Shade has more more health but less shields. But Helios, Wyrm, Daging, that one is more of a Shade type one. But Death Cube and Carrier, ignoring all primes, have exactly the same stats, so which one you use makes no difference to their survivability. If you do want a Sentinel that survives more, you think more along, oh, Prime. Shade is actually pretty decent for the survivability because he does have 150 more health. Problem is, if you set up a Sentinel correctly, really what you want to do is aim more towards the... I'll go with him, because I think it's still in there. Yeah, there it is. Shield recharge rate and the regen. So all you basically do is you add the shield capacity, the shield recharge, and the regen, because the shields go down but they come back up using the accelerated mod. So sticking with a Sentinel that has high shields makes sense, which is where I think most of this is coming from. Because if you want a Sentinel that survives a lot, wow, I just had a look at that build even though I accidentally clicked at it. That's pretty bad. You would think the primes, because if you go from Carrier Prime, same stats as Wyrm here, so ignore the name, but the stats will be different. Double the health, triple the armor. Carrier Prime for survivability cannot be beaten. His health and shields are health and armor are insanely high. Daging is junk, really. Shade, come on, click. Prisma Shade, kind of the same, but not as much as Carrier, which is great, because I think personally I'm going to go back to using Prisma Shade or Helios, because Helios scans things. Prisma Shade has the ability to make you go invisible, as does normal Shade, but well, he has 50 shields. Prisma Shade has 100. And I think this is where all the discussions are coming from when it comes to Wyrm, because Carrier Prime, double the health, and my voice is starting to disappear. Double the health, triple the armor. Wyrm Prime is half the health, triple the shield capacity. And this is what keeps drawing me back to Wyrm Prime every single time. People complained, oh, he's got half the health, and he's got 3 times the armor, 3 times the shields. Remembering what I just said about the shields, and if you set it up correct, the shield capacity will recharge. Health on a Sentinel does not recharge. You cannot anymore. I don't know if it's a bug or not, but I did test this and it did work. If you put the health stuff on the floor, it doesn't replenish the health of the Sentinel. So shield capacity is kind of important here. And this is where Wyrm Prime is going to come into his own. And basically, even though people keep saying it's a nerf, it is going to be... He is basically, by far, probably the best Sentinel going at the minute, simply because he has 3 times the armor and 3 times the shields. The health is pretty meaningless.